Let's go. NBA Hardwood Show, Sunday morning edition, 2-gamer slate. I got my boy Big T here. Before we get to Big T, though, don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, that red box at the bottom right-hand corner. Get you notified every time we go live for these live free shows that we run on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel pretty much every day. We got a bunch of shows coming at you in this day. We got this show obviously right now. After this show, we go right into the MLB show at 11 a.m. with the boys, and then 12 NASCAR show. So stay tuned for all the shows we got on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. But we got some hoops talk early in the morning. I brought the best with me, the man, the legend, Big T. What's up, buddy? What's going on?
What's going on? I mean, Uncle T was in this chair last night. It's down all low, or so his feet couldn't touch the ground. And now I got to move it back up here. I'm in shambles. JSU's towering over me like in the Mangone show. Can't get my chair to come back up.
It's the one time I can actually somehow be towering over you. So it's great to feel like I'm towering over any person, because in real life, I'm not towering over many people, as you know, Tony.
Yeah, my chair, my legs are all hunched over onto the ground. I mean, I'm in shambles here, but we're back to basketball 2 days. I mean, I guess we had Showdown Friday night, but we haven't had a two game slate, normal slate, since Thursday. So it's good to be back. And we should be, I would think, 2 games probably all week this week. I'm sure you looked at the schedule. I haven't looked at it, but 1 or 2 games all week, I'm sure. And back in the flow, new series, which are exciting because the first round, I did good DFS wise, but I didn't do great bets wise. I got cleaned up pretty good with the Jazz series that they took advantage of, and the Memphis series. So looking to get back, and we got all the better teams won though, which is the good thing for this round, because we got probably the best 4 teams in each conference, and that's all you can ask for this round. So I think I'm ready for new teams. It always gets to that point of the series where the series get a little stale and you just want to change. And I think we got some good ones too with all 4 of these series this weekend.
Yep, for sure. And just so, I mean, you obviously didn't look at the schedule, but pretty much every day we've got 2-gamer slates, except for Thursday, where it looks like it's like a travel day. There's no games at all on Thursday. So pretty much we'll have 2-game slates.
Oh, there's no games Thursday?
No games Thursday, but every other day we got 2 games all throughout this week. I looked all the way to next Sunday, and it looks like even next Sunday, 2 gamers. So pretty much every other day, Saturday, Sunday. So
I actually like the one-off day too. I like that they sprinkle that in for us. I'll go play some golf or something on Thursday.
I appreciated the one-off day. I'm not gonna lie, I appreciated it yesterday. I love hoops. You know, you're like me. I can watch NBA every day. I can. But just from the content side of it, like, it was nice to have one day where
it's nice to not have to like think about it. So even though we love NBA, which we do, we're gonna root on it through June. We got another 6, 7, 8 weeks. That I don't know what is it, beginning of May today, so like 5, 6 weeks left of the NBA. So we're gonna love it, but there's nothing, especially Thursday, because it's kind of a little off day with baseball too, where you got travel days and stuff. That's gonna be a golf day for Big T. So I'm excited for that now.
Speaking of golf days, today's a golf day for old JSU. I'm getting out. I'll be out.
Look at that polo.
Yeah, you like that, huh? Nice Run Pure polo I got on. You said rep the Nike clothes.
We got those available too if you want to look as good as JSU. I mean, look how good the man looks in the Nike polo. You got to send them, or you can get on the site now, I think, on the Run Pure site. Go order it from my wife. You can send a message
to Amber Niehaus at Amber Niehaus on Twitter. Hit her up. And ask for the swag. We got plenty of swag. She's hooking everything up. I'm pretty sure the online store, Tony, it's probably ready, right?
It's good. It's up there. A couple people were having problems with the payment. I don't know. They said it wasn't on our end. I don't know but tons of orders went through too. So it might've just been on the people's end, but it definitely works on the site. If somehow you have troubles, then definitely send Amber a message on Twitter or I guess only Twitter. I don't know if she's in the Discord yet.
Not yet. We got to get her in the Discord.
Hopefully not. I don't need her in the Discord. Who knows what'll happen in there if she gets in there.
No,
I might
I
have
want
to keep
Amber
her
in
on
the
Twitter.
Discord. Amber's a soldier. I like soldiers in the Discord. That girl gets stuff done. She don't need anyone's help. She's out there. She's out there getting stuff done that, Tony's just like watching in amazement right now. What was it, Tony? You lugged out like an 800-pound
Yeah.
what was it, a gazebo or whatever?
Yeah,
And she's out
full-blown
there.
gazebo. I mean, wood post, like size of an oak tree. I mean, the thing is just massive. She was out there at 2 a.m. putting that thing up. And yeah, my part was getting in the truck, helping her get it home. Once we got home, she took the reins. I handed a few pieces to her, but that was the extent. I mean, she's a trooper for sure.
Uncle T, first of all, come on, man. Schmediums. You know JSU don't wear schmediums, all right? These are real mediums right here. They might look like schmediums. That's because JSU is, he's a little thick up top, all right? That's from the old gym, Uncle T. You saw me out on the slab doing burpees early in the morning, one of those days. So you know what's up, Uncle T. Don't be giving the schmedium talk right now. This is a real men's medium, all right? So take that for what it's worth. But let's get into the hoops, Tony. If you don't have anything else to talk about here, let's dive into the old hoop slate. And good 2 games, like you said.
Where's Spread at? Spread said he was coming on with us. I see you in there, Spread. Where you at, Spread? Spread said he was Spread.
Oh, he goes, Holden's so bored right now. Holden's snoozing right now. There's no way Holden's up. I'm calling him out right now, too. He's sleeping right now.
Amber Niehaus just brought me a full plate of breakfast, too, for our winners. I mean, a full plate.
And Kelly Wilhide's out there, just absolutely nothing. Just getting owned by Amber, as usual. I mean, Kelly, come on. Learn from this woman, please. God,
I told her we needed good mojo today, and a full plate came in.
She's a hero. God, love Amber Niehaus. All right, sent link. Spread said so. Somebody send Spread the link. That's, I don't know, Tony. Send him the link or something like that. While I dive into these games here, we'll start obviously with the first game. All right, Helmet's sending you the link. So Spread, get on here as I get ready to talk about this Boston game that is going to be really good. This series is going to be awesome. Boston, Milwaukee. I was listening to I was pulling a man going. I listened to a little press conference with Ime just because you got a few dudes from Boston who are a little nicked up, but he says they're fine. Jalen's got a little hamstring issue. Al Horford's got a thumb issue, but it's on his offhand, so not his shooting hand. He said it's fine. And then Robert Williams, obviously, who he said he ramped up a little more in practice. So he got some good run on Thursday and he's looking better. So Celtics guys should be good to go, but Celtics-Bucks, obviously the Bucks without Middleton, how that affects them, Tony, going into this series. What are we looking at with the Celtics and Milwaukee? Just an overview before we get into DFS.
Yeah, battle of the Titans, really, for me. I think whoever wins this series, I mean, obviously, barring injuries, which we see every series, and JSU's been talking about the whole playoffs, just because something looks like a lock. You got to get to the finish line because of these injuries. You just don't know. I mean, look at Embiid. I still think Embiid's going to play, but we don't need to go into
that. Came out of nowhere, too.
Yeah.
Huh? Like, just.
The interview with him was funny. I don't want to get derail us because then we're going to do what we always do and start talking. But his interview was funny. And did you hear it after the game when he said his face was broke? And the guys, I didn't hear that. And then the announcers kind of laughed, giggled, and he said, "No, really, I think my face is broke." And then I was dying laughing because I didn't hear it until yesterday, but the audio was hilarious. It was right after the game.
I'll give him credit, man. We make fun of him about him always falling on the ground and stuff, but he's a tough son of a bitch. He gets nicked up here and there, and I give him credit. He looks like, I mean, as long as they allow him to, obviously, he'll play through these things. So
he tweeted a picture last night or Instagrammed a picture of his mask on. So I know people think he's not going to play. The price looks like he's not going. He's not going to play game 1, obviously, but I think he will play in that series if I had to guess. Just he's tough, like you said. I made fun of him, but it was more just I wanted Jokic to flop more like him. Guys should flop like that. You don't need to prove how tough you are. Get calls. Flop all around the place. That's what you should do. So
that's what guys like Draymond, who we praise, he does really well. Marcus Smart gets praised a lot for a lot of those things.
It's part of the game.
Stuff like that. Yeah, I agree. man, get in there. So flop for sure.
But today for sure, just to keep us on today's games so we can get done before the baseball show. I mean, Battle of the Titans for me in the East. Miami's good. But I mean, Philly with the injury, like I said, but these two teams, I think will represent the East in the finals. Just two Titans. I mean, Boston, though, we just watched what they did to the Nets. We've watched it for the last 3 months. I've seen all these tweets from smarter people than me saying they're basically the best team in basketball. And that was before this series. Going into the series, I saw tons of people saying they're the best team for the finals. And I disregarded it. I picked the loser with the Nets, so I'll take my L. But it's still in the back of my head, all those tweets I saw, which everyone should do. Soak in all the info. Don't be too stubborn to realize you might have been wrong, which I think I've gotten better over the years. I used to be even more stubborn than I'm still stubborn, but not as stubborn as I used to be. Bet on Boston in game 4 of that series shows that I've changed a little bit, not too stubborn. But if I had to pick, Boston's going to be tough. If they don't get an injury, man, their starting lineup is just nasty with Time Lord back. And what are you going to do against that lineup when you're playing guys like Grayson and Connaughton and all these bums, even Brooke Lopez, all these bums, and Boston just doesn't have a weakness, as we saw last series when they just dismantled the 2 best offensive players we built for the playoffs. They just dismantled them, and I just think they're built for it. And you look at Milwaukee, they have Giannis, though, and Giannis is the big weapon that other teams don't have. So it reminds me a lot of in a different way of all the LeBron teams that went through the East, and they had to go through teams that were a lot better overall, like Boston. And people won't say this now, but some of those Toronto teams he beat were unbelievable during the regular season. They were great team, but he's just, when you get that top guy, sometimes it just doesn't matter. He's just too good for the other team. And again, that's not to start with all my L's, but I never knew Giannis would get to this point. I didn't like Giannis early in his career, but he's plugged all his holes, and he's even a decent shooter now, everything. So it's a great matchup. I'm excited about it. And we get to see the best team, probably the best team. I'd put them right with Phoenix. Like if Boston played Phoenix in the finals, I think those are the 2 best teams. And but they got to beat Giannis, so we got our boy Spread hopping on too, which is good to see.
That would be a battle right there, Tony. I would love to see that series for sure.
Or Golden State, really. Golden State or Phoenix versus Boston is the dream final for basketball fans.
No doubt. I agree with you for sure. But again, we always talk about like stars win out in the playoffs and stuff like that. In Milwaukee, they have that guy, right? They have Giannis, and it really doesn't matter, who else they have for the most, because Giannis just is so good. It's like the LeBron thing from years. Like, did LeBron have the best teams? No, but was LeBron the best player in the league? Yes. So LeBron could overcome those best teams for sure. But let's bring Spread in here. Spread, we just started talking about the Boston game, just an overview of it before, we were going to get derailed about Joel Embiid, but we're holding back right now. I see Chris in the chats asking Tony if he's drinking wine. No, Chris, I asked him earlier. That's actually apple juice. So I was wrong. It's not wine. It's apple juice for Big T. And
he's talking about the fine wine behind me back there. That's the fine wine. Yeah. I got bottles behind me. He said, "Is that behind you?" He said.
Oh, I thought he said, "Are you drinking wine?" Okay, never mind. Whatever.
Later today, we're drinking wine later today.
Yeah, once Big T ships, so we'll be drinking wine the rest of the night. But Spread, what do we got here in this Boston game? Let's get a quick overview from you on this series.
Yeah, I think this could be some trouble here for Boston, man. I know that everybody loves them, and everyone says don't overreact to the regular season. So now we just want to overreact to 4 games in the playoffs. Now let's look at the matchup here. Brooklyn ran a bunch of small guards out there. Boston looked huge next to those guys, right? It's not going to be the same way. You don't have little Kyrie Irving, and I know he's great and he's a wizard with the ball, but he's a smaller dude. Patty Mills is really small. Steph Curry's not that big. Drew Holiday's a strong guard. These are strong guys. Grayson Allen, You can call them dirty, call them plucky, whatever you want to call them. These are tough matchups here. I like the Bucks here in an upset here. I'm going to grab the points with them, and I'm going to take them for the series.
Okay. All right. Interesting here. Tony, do you have a quick winner in the series that you want to give, or are you still going back and forth on it? Because I can ask you at the end of the show if you don't know.
Yeah, I'm going Boston for sure. I think in like 5 too. It's going to be a short series.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Wow, that's all right. That's a ballsy call by Big T. 4-1 here.
I mean, the chat's all over me about my apple McLong rod. I don't think I've drank apple juice in 30 years. I mean, come on, people. Like, don't worry about my apple juice.
Wait a second, really? So apple juice is finally the one thing where the chat is revolting against Big T? I mean, I finally found one thing to spread. I've been doing shows with this guy for years now, and I finally found one thing that the
chat's
chat
saying
is
the spread's coming in hot. Is your mic loud?
I can turn it down, yeah.
They're saying, I don't know. They said spread speaking in all caps.
All right, so Tony likes the Celtics. I like the Celtics as well. I think the key for Boston is going to be, can they hit their outside jump shots? If Boston can hit their outside jump shots, it wouldn't shock me for them to handle it in 5 games. Because the Bucks,
Tyler's in there with us too. We got a 3-on-1 landslide versus the spread, man.
Yeah.
If you want to send Tyler a link, he'll jump on too.
If we send anyone else a link spread, we're not going to get done by 11.
All right.
That's the problem with sending anyone else a link, because we'll be here talking until 11:30, and then the baseball, my golf, tournament will get delayed because I'll be late. Like, we can't be doing that. All right. So, all right, let's dive into the DFS portion because we gave our takes on the series. So let's dive into DFS here. Obviously, no Middleton for the Bucks, and we can start right there. So guys like Grayson Allen, Pat Con, Bobby Portis, these guys are going to have to step up big time, especially in a series against Boston where it wouldn't Boston can go small, they can play big, they can really go back and forth with how they want to approach it. I have a feeling that they're going to want to play Grant Williams in this series as well, because they just respect his defense. So they might play small a good amount, which might force the Bucks' hands here. Maybe they go with Derek White. He's been back and forth. He played a lot last game. For a lot of the Nets series, though, he didn't play as much as I thought. So what are we doing here with the Bucks, Tony, and the Celtics? Like, do you think the series plays small more? How do you see it going?
No, I think it plays big for sure, at least from Boston's side, where Grant Williams just has to play. I don't like Grant Williams, but he played good last series. Hit some open shots, and they're gonna definitely use him on Giannis at times just to bang with him, throw his big body, build a wall, as we've always talked about. So I think for sure it goes big. Guys like Horford, Time Lord, Grant Williams, Thies, I think they're gonna throw all the big bodies at him. I really don't see a way they go small. I could see Milwaukee shaking it up more and going more small from Milwaukee's side, which maybe then Boston goes a little smaller too or something. But I definitely think Boston wants to go big. And just looking at Milwaukee's roster, I don't really think they can change all that much. I mean, they're good guys or they're good guys. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of just going to play big the whole series, just looking at the people and stuff. Like, if they went small, I mean, obviously they could pull Brook off, but if they pull him off, you still got Portis and Giannis. I mean, that's going to be a big front line no matter what.
He's going small though for them, kind of, right? Because Bobby Portis isn't like massive. Giannis, if you play Giannis at the 5, that's to me going small, right?
Yeah, I mean, that'll be their small, because I mean, Portis or Lopez is pretty much always going to be on there, whether that you consider that the 4 or the 5. And then these other guys, they just don't really have anyone else they can go to, especially with Middleton not active right now. I'm assuming he'll be out the whole series too. So I don't know. I think it plays big, but that's my issue with the Bucks. They're going to have to play guys like Wesley Matthews, Connaughton, Grayson Allen. It goes back to the initial take. For me, it's the LeBron take. I mean, can Giannis do what LeBron did all those times and beat people with guys like Connaughton and Grayson Allen when you're playing a full team of good dudes and you're better than all of them? but they got 5 dudes better than your second or third best dude. So it's going to be an interesting spot. I think it plays big, though, to answer your question.
Yeah, spread. So I was listening to Ime talk about how the offense for the Bucks changed without Middleton the last couple games, and it was interesting because like he was right with his take, which was he said that the spacing was a lot better because even though Middleton's a shooter, they run a lot more plays for him, which gets him in more isolation basketball, right, where he can kind of go one-on-one. He likes to go back to the basket. So he was saying that the spacing was a lot better because they were running like literally everything through Giannis. So just for shooters, the spacing was better for them. So do you see this more where like you're going to get some of these like shooters more looks with all the defense focused on Giannis, like in the middle of the floor?
Yeah, I think that this loss of Middleton is a tad bit overrated. And right, Chris Middleton's a really good player, but he's also a guy that's incredibly streaky. And when they still have to feed him even when he's cold, right? Now we don't have to do that. If Pat Connaughton gets cold, we can just pull him or stop passing it to him, right? Grayson Allen gets cold, it's fine. And he does operate really well in the mid-range. And, hey, that might come in to play here. But you look at it, that's not the shots I want going against Boston, right? I mean, KD couldn't get those mid-range shots. So what's Chris Middleton going to do against this Boston defense? I'd rather have Giannis going downhill, either trying to finish at the rim or kicking it to these open shooters here. And you know, Bobby Portis is going to be big in this series. Number one, can he establish his physicality? And number two, he's got to really be there from 3 because he can't allow his man to lead and just make him the free guy, right? He's got to make them respect that 3-point shot there. Brook Lopez is another one, but I kind of trust him, right? Even though he's not had the best season, missed a lot of it, I still think they will respect him from outside. So that's another reason I think we're getting a favorable price. Do you think that, I mean, like, let's say Middleton was playing, what do you think this price would be? I'm seeing around 170 right now for the Bucks series. I mean, would it be down? I mean, how much do you think they made for it? Would it be plus 150? Would it be plus 130?
I mean, maybe, but I agree with you. I'm not the biggest Middleton fan, and I don't think in this series, I agree that Boston, they force him. This would be a tough series for a guy like Middleton. I really, truly believe that. I agree with you that the offense is better when it's just fully just around Giannis, where they'd be trying to get Middleton some work and some shots. So I kind of agree with you there. The one thing I will say is, like, if you're looking at it, Boston's game plan is going to be to stop transition, right? Giannis is like the Bucks are the best when Giannis is getting downhill in transition basketball. He gets a ton of fouls. He finishes at the rim because he's just so big. So the Boston's key defensively is going to be to stop transition, force them into half-court basketball. Not that the Bucks are bad, but it's just that's going to be the way they stop them. So I think if the Bucks are going to have success, they're going to have to lean really heavily on some of these shooters to kind of free up Giannis. Because if they're not making jump shots and they go cold,
what shooters are these you speak of?
Grayson Allen, Pat Con, they're going to rely on these guys. Javon Carter is going to play a role. Like, they're going to have to rely on some of these guys to hit jump shots, right? Like, Boston's not going to just let Giannis drive to the hole every single time and dunk on them. They're going to force him to shoot, or they're going to throw two dudes at him. They're going to force him into foul trouble. Like, what do you mean? Who do you think is going to be the key in the series for the Bucks?
Portis.
Yeah, a shooter. What does he do? He shoots corner threes, and he's really good at it.
Yeah.
No? You're saying no. Speak. What
Portis.
do you think?
I think Portis, but I mean, I think Grayson Allen and Wes Matt and PatCon just suck so bad. So I think they're going to be exposed. But yeah,
they do suck. Well, they do suck. But
yeah, again, I mean, if they can hit, I mean, it can't. The thing is, they can't be near as bad as the Bulls guys, because the Bulls guys literally couldn't hit a shot from anywhere, and they couldn't hit water from a boat. So, like, it's going to be better than that no matter what. So I agree with that.
The chat's killing me right now.
Oh,
So
chat's got me.
I was super low when Spread was talking because I lowered the volume on all my stuff when Spread was talking, and now it should be up higher now. So this should be
so
better.
Good, though. The
But,
chat had some just great comments.
Chat can let me know if I'm still really low, but that's what happened is I lowered my thing when Spread was talking because it was too loud. So all right, so I think for DFS.
I said, why is JSU and Big T whispering?
That's
Oh, it's too good.
Oh God, I'm killing here. All right, so Boston studs. We talked about Milwaukee. Tony likes Bobby Portis from Milwaukee. I like the call too. I love Bobby, but for Boston side, you think they go big. So who's the key guys for you on the Boston side? Is it just Tatum and then everyone else, or do you think someone else is going to be like a bigger part for Boston?
Yeah, I don't see who they can put on Tatum, first of all, just to start the conversation. That's one thing Middleton could have been used more for, is guarding someone like Tatum, at least a little bit. I don't really see. I mean, Boston just gives people problems. I mean, look at who they can put out there, and I just don't see who they can put on Tatum. It's just a major issue. I mean, Giannis can't guard him, at least not for long stretches. In the fourth, maybe they could put him on him for a minute. But the difference between him and DeRozan last series, DeRozan had no one that could hit a shot, and Tatum can shoot threes. DeRozan was trying to get to the mid-range, which is right where the defense was. Tatum's going to come off and shoot threes. Guys like Grant Williams can knock down shots from the perimeter. I don't know. Like, it just seems like a really tough matchup from the Milwaukee side. But these prices, just to get back to strictly the DFS part of it, these Boston prices are the best of the day for sure for me. I mean, even like Time Lord is 5K. I'm not saying he's going to play a ton of minutes because they're still ramping him up as we go here. But even in 25 minutes or so, he could really crush at the 5K price. Grant Williams at 3,800, I love. Horford at 5,700, I love. I mean, basically all the key guys for Boston are priced fairly, and Tatum looks like the best play of the day for me. Like I said, I don't think they can guard him. Jaylen Brown looks a little hampered right now, so if he's a little banged up, that's even more usage for Tatum. And Marcus Smart keeps playing 40 minutes a night, so I like him too. But these guys just look very fairly priced. I think all of these guys will be more expensive by the end of the series, all 6 of them.
Yeah, I agree with the take that all these guys are going to be more expensive. I do like Al Horford in this spot. If you watch Chicago in that series, Vooch was getting wide open top of the key threes in that series. And the Bucks were just conceding them, just literally conceding that he's going to shoot those. Boston, they're going to get the same things because the Bucks going to pack the paint. They're going to force the ball to the outside. They're going to let Al Horford, if they're letting Nick Vucevic, who I think from the top of the key is a very good 3-point shooter as a center for a center, they're going to let Al Horford do the same thing. And those are Al Horford's shots. That's like what he's used to taking. He loves those top of the key threes. So I wouldn't be shocked if Al Horford came out and had a big game for sure. I like Marcus Smart just because of his hot and cold. And trust me, they're going to give Marcus Smart plenty of opportunity to hit some shots from the outside. If you're the Bucks, you got to want a guy like Smart, who we talked about Middleton being a streaky dude. Smart is a streaky dude from the outside too. So he's going to be forced to hit shots. Grant Williams, Al Horford. I'm going to key on some of these guys in DFS because I think a lot of the opportunity is going to get to these guys and they're going to have to do something with it. It was kind of like my DeAndre Hunter take when the Hawks were down Bogdan, and we're like, where's the offense going? Because Trey is not going to get off with the Heat. Like, someone else has to take the scoring load. Like, that was my thought, because I knew Kevin Huerter just wasn't good enough. Boston, they're going to get all this opportunity because their 2 main guys are so good. The Bucks are going to try and key on them, and it's going to pretty much give opportunity for wide open jumpers to everyone else on the floor. So that's what I like here. I'm going to key in on those guys. But Tatum might be my favorite spend as well, just because the price tag is ridiculous. Like 9.4 for Tatum is insane. Like that's just too cheap. We'll get into the next game where there's one other stud who I think is too cheap, but I think Tatum's going to be one of my two favorite spends here on this slate. Spread, do you have any DFS takes here? Any hot takes about the Bucks and the Celtics?
One of them I was going to come in, and hopefully I'm not overpowering you guys. Hopefully I fix this mic, but
You're golden now.
Yeah, all right. I figured it out. Drew Holiday was the guy that I wanted to target because my idea was he wasn't necessarily fantastic in the last two playoff series to end last season, but look who he was guarding. He was guarding Trae Young, and then he had to guard Chris Paul. He was really tiring himself out on the defensive end. I don't think he's going to have that issue, whoever they're going to give him, because I don't think they give him Tatum or Brown, so he's going to get Derek White or Marcus Smart. I think these are easier assignments. I think that's going to allow him to have a bigger game. Unfortunately, doesn't it feel like DraftKings adjusted for that, though, at 8,200? So he was the guy that I was really hoping for to find value. Bobby Portis at 6,400 was another guy that I have interest in just because I think he's a key to the series. So if I think the Bucks have a great chance to cover and definitely get the win tonight, I expect him to have a big game. But I don't know, 6,400, is that pretty expensive for Portis? How are you looking at those two guys?
I think that's underpriced, honestly. Yeah. I think he could be a 7K guy. Like that's how I view Bobby Portis, especially in a series like this where I think they're going to need him to be dominant. I think he could get up to 7K. So whenever I see a price tag where I'm like, oh, that's, I would spend for him at this price tag and it's a little higher. That's where I'm like, okay, I know the price tag is still somewhat fair in my opinion. So that's how I view Bobby Portis. All right. Any cheapies that we're glossing over that we didn't talk about? I know we talked about Grant Williams. Tony, you had the Javon Carter call last game. He came through for you, had a nice little game. Peyton Pritchard's down there at 3.2. Derek White at 3.9. Pat Con at 3.9. Anyone sticking out to you? Like just that's way better than the other in that cheap range?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't go to cheap guys from Boston just because, we've talked about Derek White so many times. He just doesn't do anything on offense. He just doesn't try to. He's just a defender. I couldn't play him, and they like to play their rotation too, where they don't really go that deep unless they get fouls or stuff like that. But I would go to the cheap guys from Milwaukee for sure. I think they're going to experiment more than Boston is. Boston's going to do what they did, just like last series. Milwaukee could play around with different lineups and stuff. They could go even bigger. Maybe they play a lineup with all the bigs or so. They could do a lot of stuff on the Milwaukee side. I just don't think Boston ever really gets away. This is why I like Boston too. They're just going to do what they do, and they're going to make the other teams adjust to them. And I don't mind Javon Carter just because they've been wanting to use him. Even the end of the regular season, they were wanting to use him. He's not amazing, kind of similar to the plays we had last series where you can get like 12 from him or 9 or 10, but you never know. Maybe they go small and it works and he hits a couple shots. He's 3,200. If you want to play Giannis and Drew and these other guys, Tatum and Brown, you're going to need to play some cheaper guys. It's a 2-game slate. There's going to be plenty of busts. There always are, especially in early games here. So don't think everyone's going to crush like a normal slate. So 12 from Javon Carter might be just fine. He's not going to be like a core piece for me. I don't like him that much, but in my 150, I'll definitely have some Carter.
I do think this series would fit well for Peyton Pritchard if they gave him minutes. I just don't think he's going to get minutes. I wish he would though, because I think he's developed really good. I think he's got a nice little smooth outside jump shot too, which he could get a few open looks against the Bucks the way they pack the paint. So if he got extended,
I just don't know. I guess Smart foul trouble, maybe he would get some of that run.
But that's Derek White, right? That's
I just don't really see a path for Pritchard in this series, at least yet. I don't know who he plays over.
Yeah, no, he probably just gets like his 8 or 9 minutes, and yeah, I agree. But
you never know though. Maybe it's a 2-gamer. We're gonna make this point for the rest of the playoffs. It's never bad to take a shot on some of these guys. He's 3,200. He's not going to be owned, and I don't like him. But if you have a strong take on him,
Tony, maybe blowout. I'm not saying
and blowouts. That's another thing we don't talk about on these shows, especially today, where both these games look pretty close. I mean, the chances are one of these games blows out a lot of it. It happens all the time, and you're not expecting it. And we don't talk about it every time because you just don't think about it. But on these two gamers, if you get a blowout in one of them, I mean, you can hit the nuts by playing some of these random guys and then stack the later game.
Again, though, you don't have to play a ton of them in your build. You just play one. You know what I mean? You play one and hope that game. That's like a lineup where, in my opinion, you play like Giannis and Pritchard and like nobody else. Or you play like Tatum, Pritchard, and one other Celtic and nobody else. And you hope it blows out either way, right? And Pritchard gets the extended run at the end. That's how I would build a team like that, where you're stacking the second game, hoping the second game is close. Right. I wouldn't be doing a full on Milwaukee Bucks Celtics stack and then Pritchard be one of the cheap pieces. I would play Grant Williams if that's the case in a game stack like that. So just to have an idea of where he fits, I think Javon Carter could fit in a game stack no matter what, whether it's blowout or just a close game, because it looks like they're more comfortable with him getting at least 15 to maybe 20 minutes. Where Peyton Pritchard, I think for him to get 15 to 20 minutes, he needs almost a blowout or multiple guys in foul trouble. So that's how I look at that game. Let's move on to the second.
Hold on real quick. If I'm looking at value, they're the same price. Derek White and Pat Connaughton. Who do you guys like better?
I mean, I'm playing literally everyone on earth ahead of Derek White. So I'm taking Connaughton for sure. I would never play Derek White ever. Like he does not, although his price is finally getting like way down there. Like he needs to be literally like mid threes for me to want to play him.
He's under 4K.
I know he is getting cheaper. The problem is he just literally doesn't do any. He doesn't try to do anything.
No, but he does play solid defense at times. Like, you know, he could fit like in the game script at times if they went smaller.
He fits that same build too, right? Where like if you're playing a cheap guy, maybe he gets like 15 and that's enough today. That could happen.
Maybe. Yeah, you're right. Maybe he outscores that entire range. What if he outscores that entire range? Like what if Grant Williams gets 14 and Pat Con gets 14, Wesley Matthews gets 12? Like, look at that range. Would it be shocking if Derek White got 18 or 20 and outscored everyone else? I wouldn't be shocked. Like,
yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be shocked. The thing is, like, people like Derek White. I mean, I like him as a player. I just, man, like, let me pull him up here real quick. So, like, he's tough. But his price is getting cheap though. Yeah, you guys are right. I mean, we say it every time. Like, there's always a price you should consider a guy, and then there's always a price you should not consider a guy. He's getting closer. Under 4K definitely gives him outs. I mean, when he was like 4,700 and people were wanting to play him, then you need like 25 to 30 from him. At 3,900, it's still iffy for me. But if he gets down to 34, 35. He just doesn't give you any sort of upside though. Even like Javon Carter, like gives you upside at times. Like we saw a 30 piece. I just have a hard time seeing Derek White in this spot, but he could.
Javon's floor might be lower, but he does have a ceiling, right? Yeah. For sure. So, I mean, again, though, Derek White's going to come in. He's another guy. The Bucks are going to make him hit shots, right? Yeah. I mean, look at what he's been doing. The Bucks have watched these games that they've played in the playoffs. 0 for 4, 0 for 2, 0 for 1, 1 for 4, 1 for 3 from 3. You don't think the Bucks are going to be like in their scouting plans, like, okay, we want this dude to hit threes. Like we want Grant Williams. We want Smart. That's what they're going to game plan when these guys are out there. It wouldn't shock me if the Celtics with that last piece, if guys are in foul trouble, we're like just trying to find someone to hit open shots. That's another way I think Pritchard possibly in the series, not in game one, but as the series goes, could gain more minutes if he could hit shots and maybe Derek White slumping or something like that.
I could see that definitely, because I don't think they need defense of the guard as much as the big. So I think you could be onto something there with Pritchard. This is why these shows are always good to talk through stuff, because I could see Pritchard picking up some run from Derek White as the series goes. It probably wouldn't be
game one, though, Tony, right? Like, this is where you got to watch the games. You got to see how it's going and stuff like that.
But like, if Derek White just keeps missing shots or something, wide open ones, they're going to have to, like, change something. So I could see that. I don't think they'll really
sure.
change no matter what to their bigs just because their bigs do what. But I can see what you just said, Pritchard over White at some point.
The only thing I could see with their bigs is if Robert Williams picks up more run, because they said they were willing to play him 24 minutes, but he didn't get 24 minutes, Tony. He got like 14 in both games. So they didn't really run him as much as they said he could go. So if he gets 24 minutes today, who does that hurt? It's got to hurt Thies, right? It's got to.
I think he gets like 24 for sure too. Like last series wasn't really. I mean, they had no bigs, so it wasn't really a Time Lord series for that much. This series, much more of a Time Lord series, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with that wall, Giannis at the rim. You want someone who can, at least make Giannis think about it, right? He's not going to think about it anyways. He's still going to attack. But my point is you want someone who can at least challenge, and that would definitely be Robert Williams over Daniel Thies. So I agree with you. Thies probably a guy I'm definitely not going to play either way. So let's go to Golden State, though. Memphis, this series, we saw the Memphis series very up. I mean, for them, it was very up and down. Ja's father was not happy about Ja's play. He was very not impressed. He was upset with his son. I actually like hearing like a father be tough on the kid like that. Like these guys are stars. It's good to see that like their dad can still tell them like, hey, you sucked. Like you won.
How good was it after the game though, when they gave him they gave Cat's dad the jersey that was like 12 sizes too small, and he's like, put it on, man, put it on. It's like, dude, he's not putting that jersey on. And the guy was like, I'm not putting it on, but I'll hold it.
It's like me giving you my shirt.
Yeah,
you're like what?
That thing is not going on. It's not going to fit around his head, let alone go on his whole body. His dad was like, no, I'll hold it, but I'm not putting that puppy on.
No, that was definitely good. That whole thing was like right next to the interview. So you saw the whole like interaction. It was so
the dude's
good,
like 350 pounds. He's not wearing Ja's jersey.
And Ja's dad, who's skinny like Ja's, like, put it on, man. But Spread, what do you see in this series? What do you see just like an overview of this series? Do you like Golden State? Do you like Memphis? How's this series going?
I like Golden State. I'm not as bullish on it because let's go back to those matchups. Memphis matches up with Golden State so much better than Denver did, right? Denver really lacked the guards to keep up with Golden State. Golden State just got it to run around, do whatever they want, right? And they weren't too worried about things. Now we go with this Memphis team that has a bunch of strong perimeter defenders, right? They're not going to let them get into their sets just as easily. And I don't want to be fooled because, like I said, I think that matchup was so good for Golden State. At the same time, I do lean the Warriors. That was Memphis's first, playoff series win with this group. And I think that, especially for today, that turnaround's tough because when did they win? They won on Friday night. They got one night to celebrate. They got yesterday off. Now, at least they're at home here. But I think that's a quick turnaround, right? And I know that they probably didn't get too high, but let's be honest, those guys were pretty happy after the series. That was a hard-fought game. The game was definitely, it was up for grabs with 3 minutes to go. It's not like they just cruised to an easy victory, right? So definitely a lot of emotions. Not necessarily like a lit down spot, but it is hard to just get up night after night after night, especially coming off a win like that in a series like that. So I like Golden State today. Although if you like Memphis, like I'm not necessarily, I won't think that's a crazy idea because they match up so well. I mean, that's why this team did so well. I think they're 4-1 the last time they faced Golden State. They knocked them out of the playoffs last year in that playing game. Now, when I'm saying that 4-1, remember Draymond missed a lot of those games that they played this season. And of course he changes everything. I'm really curious to see, does Adams just stay on the bench the rest of the playoffs? Or do they move him back in tonight, and get him going again? Or is he just back on the bench for the whole thing? How do you think that Memphis rotation works? And what do you think what do you think the Warriors would rather see?
I think the Warriors would definitely rather see Steven Adams on the floor.
They
might start with him though. I mean, just to start the series, I don't know. Like it depends on who.
He's not even for sure in.
Yeah.
Like Steven Adams
because of COVID,
questionable because of COVID.
He's got to go. So
it says he's. Oh wait, he's ruled out. I just saw this. So this is an update. 11. So it says Steven Adams has been ruled out for Sunday's game 1 against the Warriors. So I thought he was still questionable, but
so
they're
he
saying
actually
he's
had
out.
COVID.
That's what it looks like.
If he actually had COVID, and I mean, you don't know how. Obviously, now we know more about COVID. Like, you don't know how an individual will react to it, but a lot of times we've seen guys struggle when they come back with just conditioning and stuff. We've seen it a lot, even in football. And I don't know what they really do with that. I mean, he wasn't going to be a good fit in the series anyways, even though his numbers were decent against Golden State. That's not with this death lineup. And that, I mean, if they start, which they're going to, I don't really see a way they don't just start small now, because they're not going to bench Poole or Curry. They could at times, like the end of the last game we saw versus Denver when Peyton finished. They could close with a different lineup, but I just don't see any way they don't do that.
So that's interesting you say that, because I think in this series, Gary Payton makes a ton more sense than in the series against Denver. Because against
Denver, liked him in the series versus Denver is the good part. Yeah.
But he didn't get as much run except for 1 or 2 of those games, because Denver didn't really have that wing that you were like, oh, we're really worried about. Like, we need someone to go lock them down. Like, this team is different. They got Ja, they got Desmond Bane, they got Dylan Brooks. A lot of their scoring is coming from the perimeter. So Gary Payton makes a ton more sense in this series, where, listen, Draymond's still going to run the defense, but you don't think they're going to want Gary Payton to go out there and give Ja some at least some tough run for 20 minutes? I think so. I think he makes a ton more sense in this series. I really like him. He's probably my favorite cheapie. If we're just talking like under 4K, everyone under 4K, I think Gary Payton's my favorite, just because I think the run could get extended in this series. And the same thing with Tyus Jones, who's another cheap guy who I liked last game. I said that game could go small. If you watch the show I did with Kay Fallick and Mangone, I said I thought that game could go small, where, you know, McLaughlin played a lot more than I thought. And I didn't mind McLaughlin as a cheapie, but I did say, like, because Tyus Jones, I thought, was going to finish the game and play a lot, you're going to get smaller lineups from Minnesota. Obviously, it meant Jaden McDaniels crushed, where, like, you know, if you got that one, you probably won a lot of money. But, like, this series is going to go similar. I think Memphis is going to play small a lot, and Golden State is going to as well, with that death lineup and then Gary Payton. So not only are they going to start small probably, but they're going to have Gary Payton coming off the bench to keep it small in a lot of ways. So I think it makes sense for Adams and Looney, just them to get very minimal run in this series whenever Adams comes back, and Looney continue to get kind of minimal run. And Golden State goes smaller here. So that's why I really like Gary Payton. I like Tyus Jones. I think they're gonna, you know, get bumps in their minutes from what they've like averaged in the series before. And then, you know, you look at these studs. I mean, Tony, how are we going between Ja and Steph Curry? There's a $700 gap on DK. You got Tatum at 9.4. You get Giannis. Like, how are you ranking these studs here when you just taking them all into account?
Yeah, I would. My opinion probably won't change on Steph. I will not like him as much as the other studs for the whole series. They just have too many guys that are going to shoot. Clay, Poole, Wiggins, all these guys want the ball. I think Curry, I'm sure this will be one of the things me and JSU will disagree with, I think, in this series. We haven't talked yet, but I think he likes Curry way more than I do. I just think there's no possible way I can play Curry over Tatum, over Ja, over, I mean, who else is in this range?
Those guys, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, and Giannis. I mean, I'd put Giannis in there too, just because he's more expensive, but he's a stud. If I go, I can't play Curry over those guys. I just don't. I think Curry should be closer to like 8K, even in this spot. But I think JSU thinks he's underpriced, so we'll definitely have a disagreement with that. I just don't. I can't play Steph. I can't play Clay either at 7,100. I just don't think he does enough. I like the cheap takes, though, from Golden State. I like Peyton, and I think a decision point, though, is him and Otto Porter, because they like Otto Porter for the same reasons you gave for Peyton. Similar price. I think Otto Porter's got slightly more offensive game, though. Very similar plays, though, and I think both are very good plays with Tyus Jones, which in a 2-game slate, I mean, so we talked about the plays in the first game. I think I like all 3 of these guys more than the values in the first game. So that kind of eliminates, with how we do things at Run Pure, we don't play everyone. It kind of eliminates some of the cheaper plays in that first game, just because. And I think Golden State could run deeper than people think too, where later in the series, maybe not, but early in the series, I could see them testing some stuff out too, playing different lineups, trying different things. It's game 1 on the road. It's almost like a not a free roll, but a feel out game, like we always talk about. I could see lots of stuff from Golden State, which is another reason I don't love the pay ups for them. But Draymond, 6,600, great play again. As long as he's in the low 6Ks, I'm always going to like Draymond. So he's in play. Wiggins, just not enough ball. I don't think I like any of the spend ups besides Draymond from the Warriors.
Yeah, I love Draymond. We talked about this. Whenever he's like under 7K, he's a great play. And I like this. I like actually this series for Draymond, because now you go from keying in on the best player maybe in the league.
It's going to feel like an off series for him, where he doesn't have to play Jokic.
Yeah, is he going to?
Who are they even going to put him on?
I mean, is he going to have to challenge Jaren Jackson on some threes? Yeah, he will. But Tillman, when Tillman's in the game, got Brandon Clark.
He's literally going to feel like an off series for Draymond, because he's used to guarding like the LeBrons, the horses. Memphis doesn't have that for him.
And the worst part is, it's worse for these guys to defend Draymond, because when you defend Draymond out on that perimeter, it's like defending Steph and all, because you got to be worried about all these other guys running around, Draymond setting them up for open shots, setting screens, and you're going to have to come out. And it's just going to be a nightmare. Jaren Jackson, how many fouls do you think he's going to get on 3-point shooters in this series? I'm going to put it at like 10 is the over-under in this series. He's going to have so many issues getting out on 3-point shooters in this spot. The one thing I will agree with you on, Tony, is I don't think I can play Steph over Ja. And the reason is because of all those guards that are going to be in Golden State. And we watch Memphis, how Memphis, they've got good, defense. I think they're going to force other guys like Otto, Gary Payton, Clay, like make them beat you, right? Ja, we've seen his upside, and he's played terrible in that Minnesota series. Like, if Gary Payton comes in and gives him issues, it's not going to be as much issues as he had in the last series, because he was bad in the last series. So if you tell me Ja's going to still be bad and get close to triple-double numbers for fantasy, I'm still going to want to play Ja if he's getting triple-double numbers. And that's what he's doing. I mean, look at the stats for Ja. He is a triple-double nightmare when he's bad. That's the crazy part with him. So, yeah, is he turning the ball over a little bit? Yes, he is, but the ball's in his hands a lot, and that's a struggle for him. But
another quick point about Curry too, as you finish it, is Dylan Brooks is a great defender, and he's gonna literally be selling out on Steph, like selling out. Which again, it's Steph. They set 9 million screens. Obviously, Steph could get hot. Like no, I'm not saying he can't, but you got to make decisions in DFS. You can't just play all these dudes. And I think Dylan Brooks can do as good of a job as anyone on Steph. That doesn't mean he's going to shut him down, but I think he'll at least compete.
Yeah, I mean, Ja over Steph. I'm seeing some people don't like the Ja over Steph thing.
Of course. Ja over Steph is hilarious. Oh, okay.
I mean, Ja outscored Steph. Well, he had the same 46-47 the last game that they both played. The game before that, Ja outscored
anyone
him
that wants Steph
59.
over Ja, just slide into my DMs. We'll bet whatever you want. The whole series, I'll take Ja as much as you want to bet. Not any of these little $20, but if
don't do that game 3, Tony.
Huh?
Game 3 is the game you play Steph. You got to hope that he has the 2 quiet games here. Ownership dips. He's going to explode in that first game at Chase Center.
He'll for sure have a big. I agree with that. Like he's not going to be dead the whole
Steph,
series.
Though they have so many scorers, but like Steph is going to have big games. Like we all know this. Like Steph is going to have games where he drops 40. Like, it's going to happen. But what about the game when Clay drops 35? Jordan Poole drops 30 plus. Like, you don't think those games are going to happen? I think that's the point that Tony's making. We're like, everything is around Ja. Even when Desmond Bane has good games, Ja is still putting in the fantasy numbers, is my point anyways, in the game where you can
I do agree that
Golden
Steph
State
will have a
guys
big game.
torch.
Though. I agree with that. I mean, Steph's Steph. I mean, he's going to have a game or two where he gets hot, but
you're not saying that though.
Huh?
No one was saying that though.
Well, that's what spread just said. He's going to have a big game.
I say game 3 is going to be his game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, I think he will, but like what we're doing, we're going to play every game of the series. So I think it's tough to flip flop back and forth. You almost have to, and you can make adjustments based on how the series goes, but like, I'm just going to play Ja over him and then adjust if need be.
I wonder what the ownership difference is going to be on Ja versus Steph. That'll be interesting because I would assume it's massive, right?
I don't think so. I mean, really?
No, I don't know.
I mean, Steph being way higher?
Yeah, well, just because there's a $700 gap. That's why I think people are going to see him under 9K and just completely flock to him.
I hope so. I hope Steph comes in high owned.
Yeah. I mean, on FanDuel, there's a $500 difference. I mean, we didn't talk much FanDuel, but I pull up the FanDuel prices. I think in some ways it's kind of similar where you got like Tatum at 10-3 and Giannis is 11-8. The one thing I always say about FanDuel is it's a lot easier to play two studs. Tony, we don't have a lot of time, but do you want to just give like a quick FanDuel take for the people?
Yeah, just like you said, it's way easier to fit two studs, maybe even three studs on some slates on FanDuel, like just super easy. So I think the biggest difference you notice in the playoffs is Giannis between the sites. DK, I tend to fade him and Luka, and in the last series, like Jokic, all the like super high guys. I fade them a little more on DK. FanDuel, though, they just hit it. It's just so much easier to get them that it's tough to fade Giannis on FanDuel. A lot harder to fade than on DK, where you have other positions and stuff too. So I don't know. FanDuel, I mean, the pricing just at first glance looks pretty similar to DK. Like the cheap guys, I haven't fully dove into FanDuel yet, but nothing sticks out to me as just a crazy, insane price either way. So
Dylan Brooks and Robert Williams price tags stick out. Robert Williams is 4.9. If you expect him to get more run, that's too cheap. And I think,
but
Dylan
he's 5K on
5.2.
DK though.
Yeah, that's true. So it's
I didn't mean like I still think there's value. I was just saying from DK, like difference.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And is Brooks still? I don't like Brooks in the series no matter what, just because of the defensive factor. Like I think he's going to sell. How much is he on FanDuel? I can't find him.
5.2.
Oh,
he's 5.2 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
So
I hope people play him at 5.2 because
people will definitely play him.
I think he's a bad play. He's going to sell totally out on defense. And that means foul trouble. That means less energy on lots of stuff. But I don't
look
like
at this
him.
game though, Tony. He had a good game last time. I know he only played 31 minutes because of foul trouble, but he had a good game and he still only scored 31 FanDuel
Game
points.
6 of the Minnesota you're talking about?
Yeah, like
he was amazing. How many did he have?
He had 31 fantasy points.
And he was as good as you could be in that game, literally.
Yeah, so many big shots. Spread. Anything in this series? Any takes for you? Like anyone you're focusing on for DFS?
Yeah, I think I really like that your guys' ideas. I think this is the game you would get the value from, right? So you brought up Gary Payton was already the guy that I was planning on talking about here a little earlier. You know who gets completely overlooked that I don't think his price tag is out of control is Andrew Wiggins. How do you think that he matches up here? He's 56 on DK. We haven't mentioned him yet on the show. He's obviously not a very popular player because of if he's the number 15 pick, right? What a great guy, but he was the number 1 pick. He busted out and that's how it goes. But at 5,600, do you think that Wiggins matches up well against this team? He's going to get the run. He's going to be out there. It's just, is he going to get the shots and the usage?
The problem is that small ball lineup. That's my issue is there's too many other scorers out there. He gets kind of left. He gets left on the side. It's just too many like other guys that are going to take the shots over him.
What's the route for him to get you to the winner? Like, I know he feels cheap, but I think the only way you can play Wiggins is literally like a last piece in type thing where you're needing him more for his floor than his ceiling. Cause I think he gets like what he always does, high 20s. I just don't see any sort of like ceiling with him. I don't know what would have to happen. What is he? The fourth option always when he's on the small ball, and Draymond's the creator. So you could even say the fifth option just because how much Draymond has the ball. But his price is cheap. I mean, he's one of those guys that'll probably win a tournament at some point during this series, but I just never play Wiggins.
So you guys would both rather have Dylan Brooks and Wiggins right at that point?
I'd rather Wiggins than Brooks.
That's the thing is I might rather Wiggins just because of the foul trouble. I think Dylan Brooks, Tony says he thinks Dylan Brooks from a defense, I think he's going to struggle to stay in some of these games because he's just so aggressive. But if he's in the game, he's still going to be focused on running around with Steph, to Tony's point, or to the scorers. So
who's
that's
in
going
this
to be
range? Like you got Jaren Jackson, Brooks, Horford. I'd much rather Horford. It is kind of a tough range though, because I don't like Brooks. I don't like Jaren Jackson. I don't like Wiggins. I mean, it's a tough range right in that like 6K range. So, but then you look a little higher though, and it's all the guys we like: Draymond, Portis, Smart, and Clark. I think those four are guys we all would agree that we like. So I think just maybe go up to that next peg and get all the guys we love, even if that means coming down to a Gary Payton instead of who's the higher, like a Grayson Allen. We got to go from Grayson Allen to Gary Payton just to get up to those 6K guys. I would much rather go to the 6K and GP.
Yeah, I like that. I agree. Guys, don't forget, hit the like on this video. We got to kind of wrap this show up because we got the baseball show. We've already went over
Looney. Hold on, the dude in the chat. We're going over Vandermeer. Looney is sneaky to guard the water bucket all series. Looney is not sneaky. Oh, I know he's 3,100, but unless you see him starting, which I don't think they start with they could though. They could.
Even if they do, he might only get 12 minutes.
Well, I agree.
No, Andrew Bogut, the 6 minutes at the beginning of each half.
And I'm not. I don't like him. I'm just saying if he started, then he'll just be owned too. So spread's right. Like we almost want him to start he's not going to start, I don't think, but we want him to start at 3,100 because then people will play him. And he's going to play the 6-minute verse like spread said. So yeah, Looney is not sneaky. Don't play him.
And I wouldn't play him either way because like you said, if he starts, his ownership probably goes up.
Play
so
Looney.
Even
when he plays, say he plays 25 minutes, he literally has no usage outside of garbage.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I'm telling you, the small ball, Otto Porter, Gary Payton, if Jordan Poole's not in at the end of the game, that's how they're going to go. I don't think it's going to be Looney anyway.
That's why we can't do our shows because I started interacting with the chat. The next one says Iggy Masterclass. Iggy ain't even going to play. I don't think his neck's all jacked up.
Yeah, he's hurt. He's hurt, and it doesn't
he's actually hurt too. Like it's not one of the he's got like a stinger in his neck.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great for him. They said they're going to reevaluate him in a week. I mean, so that don't even mean in a week he's going to be ready. That means they're going to kind of come back and see what's going on.
He's actually hurt. So
it is funny though that the team that he refused to play for, he called them out. That's another thing. We can't even get into this because I'll go on for like 10 minutes. But I will say, Memphis, they want to. This is a team that they never liked because Andrew Wiggins refused to play for them a few years back. And those guys, a lot of those guys are still on this team. So they
Iguodala is the guy you're meaning.
Iguodala, yeah, I'm saying it. Dylan Brooks, those guys hate him. Like Dylan Brooks still remembers it. Like
Redmond, slide in my DMs if you think Looney's playing 20 minutes. Like slide in, buddy.
Oof. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Redmond, we need action.
Redmond's a sharp dude. I don't know though if Looney's playing.
He didn't play. I mean, if he didn't play 20 minutes versus Jokic, he's not playing 20 minutes versus Memphis.
Especially with Adams out. I think he would have been a nice counter to Adams.
Yeah,
they would have played him versus Adams at times for sure.
Exactly. If Adams was in, I'd be a little more comfortable with Looney playing 15, 16 minutes, maybe 20 if Adams played 20. Maybe they almost mirror it, but I just don't see where he fits in. Even Brandon Clark, Looney's a slow-footed dude. Like these guys are, Jaren Jackson hangs out on the 3-point line. Like just doesn't make sense for Looney, I guess. I don't know.
The Mott's apple juice play of the day.
All right, let's give our play of the day and let's get out of here for baseball. Tony, I'm just going to throw you right on the spot here. Let's give the Mott's apple juice play of the day or whatever you want to call it.
Let me see. Who's my favorite dude today? I mean, we've already talked about like all the stud guys. I don't want to give one of them. Let me find it. Who's my favorite sneaky guy? Definitely Tyus Jones, actually. I'm going with Tyus Jones, 4K, small ball versus that death lineup. He just has to play, and I think he's significantly underpriced. I think Tyus Jones could be – this might be a stretch. Definitely in the 5Ks by the end of the series, maybe even like 6K. I think he is significantly underpriced just because of the matchup versus this Golden State small ball. JSU already talked about it more, but like Tyus Jones, Spread can talk more about the bet side when he gives his play. But if you can find some props on Tyus Jones, like just hammer the overs because he's going to play way more in this series than people think. He just has to. He has to play against his team. So Tyus Jones, Mott's apple juice play of the day.
I love it when me and Tony are on the same wavelength. Maybe we talked before about it a little bit. I don't know, but I love when he gives a similar take to me. I love the Tyus Jones play. Spread, you got a best bet for the people or DFS play? If you got a DFS play, you can give that out as well.
I'll start with DFS, right? Take it with a grain of salt. But since I do like the Bucks plus 4.5, I think Bobby Portis correlates at 6,400, right? And I like the Bucks 4.5. Like I said, they beat up a small Brooklyn team who they just schemed Kevin Durant perfectly. I don't think you can scheme Giannis like that. We'll see. I mean, they could shut him down, right? I obviously before the Brooklyn Nets series, I didn't expect them to shut down KD either. But this guy's a whole different animal on terms of athleticism, right? 7 years younger, completely in his prime, best athlete in the NBA. So I like the Bucks plus 4.5. I think that correlates with Bobby Portis having a big night.
Love it.
Love it. I love Bobby
I think we're all
Portis
three
call.
in unison a little bit, even though Spread likes Milwaukee. I feel like we're all on the same page, though, as far as how the series go and stuff.
For DFS, I'm fine with Milwaukee keeping it close, Tony. I'm totally fine with it.
I think Milwaukee's going to play tough today, especially. Yeah.
Yeah. So since Tony gave Tyus as his play, I'm going to go Gary Payton. Two of my favorite cheapies. They're both in this game, but I think Gary Payton, he just makes more sense for this series. That's why I don't think Looney plays very little at all. I think it goes small. I think they want guys like Payton out there for his defense on some of these other perimeter guys for Memphis, where all the scorings come from. All the scoring, Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bain, these guys were good in the other. Well, Ja wasn't really good. He was still one of the vocal points, though. And my point is, like, you're going to need someone out there who can play tough on one of these guys. And I think Gary Payton's going to be needed a lot more in this series than the Jokic series, because in the Jokic series, it was all about Draymond, getting him on Jokic and really just making the perimeter guys beat you, where now it's kind of flipped a little bit. They don't have that, like, big that you're worried about just dominating you all over.
You're saying this, though, and it proves your point even more, though, that they played Payton pretty much last series, and it wasn't a good matchup for him. So your point's even more credible that it's a good matchup this time.
Yeah, especially if we think
he played
Tyus
26 minutes and 20 minutes in two of the games. Like,
especially if we think Tyus plays more, in my opinion, because Tyus Jones, I don't care what anyone says, they trust that dude. You know how I know they trust that dude? He had the ball in his hands in that when he had hit that big 3-point shot. Ja trusted him to take that ball and take that shot, which really crushed Minnesota when he hit it, because then Towns took the horrific 3 that everyone remembers. And then it was just from there, game over. So Tyus Jones, Gary Payton, I'm going to play both those guys. I love them. They're my two favorite cheapies. But that's got to do it for us, guys. We got to get out of here. Stay tuned because we got the baseball show coming up any minute now. For me, JSU, Big T, thanks to Spread for coming on. Helmet, wrap this thing up.